look at that. Guy's super good looking.
The mustache.
Hey, have you ever hunted? Like, no. Hunted girls, you know, like, yeah. And we're gonna haul the mail, you know. Stroke. There's no technique. There's no magic. No. It's a log, dude. It's
got it.
Whatever. So, hey, now you listen. You know? Get out of the boat.
Now you know. Now you know.
I have a barbed wire tattoo. Dude, are you hardcore? Because I'm hardcore. Because you're like, hey, listen, SEALs, never afraid of marketing. You need this much.
Oh, America.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
Department of the Navy, United States Navy.
So these boats do a whole bunch of things not well. And one of the things they don't do well is travel through the surface. Oh, look at that. Guy's super good looking. This is older, right? Because no one's wearing body armor. They've got the old camouflage.
Those rifles are in the water.
Yeah, that's an M60.
You can handle that?
Yeah, I totally can. I mean, yeah, like this is an older video. This is like before I was even in. I mean, this is like 30 years old now or older. Yeah, so I carried one of those. Yeah. Why I can't hear good so good, you know? That's an M60.
This must be, yeah.
So every time you pull the trigger, right, you know, 0.07 pounds lighter, right? You know? So, yeah, you know, like at the start of the training week, you're like pulling the trigger, you know, like, hey, ceasefire, everyone ceasefire, right? You know, later on in the week, you know, you can see Tradet's about to blow the whistle and everybody starts going full auto because, you know, they're trying to get rid of that extra weight, yeah. So that's the old Buds compound. There you go. So that class is very early because there's a bunch of dudes in it. Soon there'll be less dudes. Yeah, a little wet. See, so I used to run. I would run the students, and I would get wet and sandy on purpose, and then I would go, you know, do my runs because I don't want some student being like, "Well, I would have kept up, but he, you know, I was wet and sandy, and he wasn't." So I would get wet and sandy, and then you know, then I would haul the mail, and then that way they have no reason to complain.
First phase.
Yeah, let's see who this guy is. So I graduated in '94. This is 225, right? So this would be about like late '90s.
Some of these guys are probably generals by now.
Admirals.
Sorry.
Not that it matters. Everyone's gonna make it, right? You know, only guys on the inside care.
Oh.
See how like that guy in the forward, his hands are on the sides. So he's really not holding up a lot of weight.
The guy in the front.
Guy in the front, right? Second back, right? And the guy in the front's barely doing anything. This third guy, he's holding a lot of that weight. So, like, what they don't show in the movies is that instructors like me, we watch that stuff like a hawk, right? We know the deal. We carried the logs too, dude. And so we come up and we're like, we'll slap their hands when they're not looking. And if we slap your hand and the log doesn't move, we know you're not holding any weight. So what we do when the camera's on around, no one's looking, take all the guys that don't hold the weight, and we put them all in the same log. And magically, that log is very, very far behind the other logs. Everybody's crying and moaning because log PT wasn't that tough because I wasn't holding any weight.
Yeah.
Now I'm holding my fair share. So is everybody else. So they're crying and screaming and fighting and yelling at each other. And then magically, that log gets put with all the other logs because all those dudes quit.
Oh.
And so yeah, you know, there's no getting away with it.
All right, so if everyone's holding the weight, doing their best, is it still hard or is it make it easier?
Yes, it's a log.
It's still hard. Okay.
It's the thing about buds is like, well, what's hard about buds? Like the brutality of it. It's like, well, how hard is it to hold a log? What do you need to learn? What do you need to do? Like, dude, it's a log. There's no technique. There's no magic. No. It's a log, dude. It's
got to
like that's
do the work.
Yeah, this stuff's all, you know, whatever, right? So like what I used to do is go over the top and I would just kind of like drop a couple on that net and then catch on my way down, right? Donaldson, good looking dude. Looks like he could open a car window with his head. That is subtly one of the worst worst obstacles right there. This one's kind of fun, just takes time. You know, people get injured on this. That's the fastest way to do it. I think they've adjusted it so you can't do this anymore. Like that. That guy's pausing. He needs to haul the mail.
The mustache.
Yeah, that's where freedom comes from. A lot of people don't know that. Yeah, see, there's no rudder to those boats, so that's how you go out, right?
In the rocks.
Yeah, so, like, no one paid attention to me because I was some, like, young idiot kid who was, like, 18 from California. I'm like, hey, man, you should probably do this. Like, whatever, until we went into the boats, into the rocks. And then it was like, hey, what do you think we should do here? It's like, hey, now you listen. Right? So you see that wave coming?
Yeah.
So, like, you kind of have this relationship with your like, class. You're like, hey, I'm from here and I'm from there. And, like, it's kind of good, like, a lot of those skills actually come out in third phase because you get some dudes, because I'm from California, like, hey, have you ever hunted? Like, no. Hunted girls, like, yeah, And so it's like, all right, your skills are worthless, right? A lot of those skills come out in those dudes from, like, third phase, right? Like, hey, man, I grew up in Kentucky. I've been hunting. This is how you do this. Like, I've slept, like, hey, this is how you rig up some, like, way to get the rain off you. And you're like, dude, this stuff's invaluable, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, well, you're a surfer and you grew up surfing. Like, this is the first phase is when you kind of come about it, right? But everyone doesn't know each other yet, right? And you haven't kind of gone through Hell Week yet. So everybody's kind of like, whatever, dude, shut up. Especially if you're younger and you're not like this huge guy. Everybody associates with strength and making it through training. Well, after a while, like, a whole bunch of people go away and you're still there and you've got a bunch of surf knowledge and people are like, okay, hey, listen, like, 1, I don't want to be in the ocean. 2, I don't want to get hit by a wave. And 3, like, dude, it's cold. And this guy kind of knows about the surf. I might start listening to him. And so we're in Hell Week. And I'm like, hey, like, this is how we do it. And I remember one of the officers like, all right, hey, like, what should we do right now? I'm like, all right, this is what we should do. Like, make like you're paddling, right? But actually don't move the boat. We want to wait until the set comes. And then when there's a lull, we'll, like, really put the paddles in and we're going to haul the mail and get out there. And so everybody is, like, in the boat, this is, like, later on in Hell Week, right? When everyone's like, all right, dude, that actually sounds like a good plan, And so we're, like, paddling, right? Like, kind of like fake paddling, right? And the instructors can't see it. And, this is, like, the student viewpoint. Years later, I realized that, like, the instructors at that point kind of are just like, yeah, dude, I got a thermos of coffee. You guys are supposed to go through the surf zone. Like, it's also Wednesday night, like, we really just don't do anything stupid and hurt yourselves. We're just at this point kind of keeping you up. But anyways, that's the side story. So everyone's listening to me like, yeah, like, we're just going to touch the water with our paddles, wait until the surf, dies down, and then we're going to haul the mail, And so, like, the surf died down, and I'm like, all right, like, push it. So we're like, stroke, stroke, stroke. And I'm, like, telling them stroke, and we're kind of, like, running out of breath, and, like, stroke. And, like, this wave just almost hits us and we just barely get over it.
Nice.
It's like, yes. It's like, yeah, I can kind of feel in the boat. Everyone's like, holy smokes, dude. Lyman, like, maybe, like, you've got some genius here, dude. We're actually listening to you. We kind of think you're an idiot because you're a young kid and you're kind of a knucklehead as well. But, like, dude, we didn't get tossed, right? And so it's like, here's another one, like, stroke, stroke. And, like, boop. It's like, dude, oh, my God, we might make it. Stroke. And I'm, like, telling him, I'm like, stroke. And I'm, like, at the top of my lungs. And we get up this one wave and it's like, dit, 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 dit. I could tell we're not going to make it. But at this point, I'm, like, out of breath. And I'm like, stroke. I'm like, get out of the boat. But I don't say it with, like, any sort of enthusiasm and, like, zero volume. And, like, I was the only one that knew that we probably should have gone out because everyone's tired and they don't have the surf knowledge I do. And so I'm, like, the only one that ejects. And I look back and I just see, like, 5 other faces that are like, what are you doing? I was like, they're not leaving. And they all got handled.
So they got hit by the wave.
Right? So it's like, we listened to you. And then when it got really hard, like, you jumped out of the boat, and, like, you quitter, like, you left us. I'm like, dude, well, obviously you should have jumped out of the boat too. It's like, oh, we've never been in the surf zone before. And it's like, well, you've been in the surf zone now.
Now you know. Now you know.
All right,
that's cool.
Yeah, let's watch some more.
How much time do you normally have between sets?
It all depends. It all depends. It's kind of like asking me, like, well, it's raining. How wet am I going to get?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, you're going to get wet. So, I mean, this looks like, you're swimming along. It takes a long time, right? But, like, one dude's got to, like, guide, right? This guy's Ensign Joe Burns. He's incredible. Just ask him.
There's Coronado. Coronado Bridge.
Yeah, that's so, all right, way better to swim in the bay. This pool doesn't exist anymore, but below that, there's, like, a window and you can watch people. Okay, so that guy has a bar tattoo, which I think is a lame tattoo. But this is the difference between, like, the Navy SEAL training and the Marines and the Army and the Navy boot camp and all the other schools, right? Like, we can kind of, like, address, like, all of these kind of, like, comical issues, right? So I used to make every guy with a bar tattoo get together in a circle on the pool deck and point at each other. And I'd make them go in a circle and point at each other and be like, dude, You have a barbed wire tattoo. I have a barbed wire tattoo. Dude, are you hardcore? Because I'm hardcore, right? And like, dude, man, this is so hardcore. Like, I like having a barbed wire tattoo. I like how unique it is, how I'm totally like unique and not like anyone else, except like you and everyone else in this circle. And so we would make him do that, and then we would all laugh at him. So yeah, you can see that, right? He's got those feet tied up, right? So that's drown proofing. And, you know, it always gets a lot of play on video, right? Like, hey, drown proofing, what's that about? You know, because you have your hands tied behind your back and your feet, you know, legs tied together, feet tied together. And you have to, you know, bounce up and down. I think it's for like 5, 6, 7 minutes or so, or maybe even 10 minutes. And then you have to do a front flip and a back flip. And then you have to traverse the distance of the pool, right? So it's like 100 meters, 50-meter pool. And then you have to grab a mask with your feet, with your mouth, right, by the strap, and then come to the surface. And like, as far as like, if you don't know anything about SEAL training, you know, there's a lot of things that kind of like draw a lot of attention, and this is one of them. But it's actually not one of the harder evolutions, because at this point you're getting so comfortable in the water, you're just kind of like whatever, right? And the only problem with this evolution is that you can't like sleep, because you're like, you know, like you're kind of like, oh, I need air, and you got to go to the surface, right? But that's also the key to like getting through this, is like being really comfortable in the water. Obviously, you don't swim very effectively, you know, but you can do it.
You're just hopping.
You're just kind of like, just pushing yourself a little bit. Yeah, so they're doing the swim there.
And you just can't panic.
Yeah,
that's hard.
It's all about trying to stay calm
and no goggles. Are they wearing goggles?
Well, this is knot tying, and I used to do, you know, special breath holds, right, for knot tying. As an instructor, I used to put a lawn chair down there, and I used to put a knot tying. I used to put a lawn chair down for knot tying, okay?
Yeah.
And I used to put a weight belt, and then I would just sit down there. But I was really calm, and I would like practice, you know, like my breath hold. So I would like get there early to the pool. I would take a 45-pound plate and run it across the bottom of the pool. Really good breath hold. And what would happen is the students would come. But, you know, like, here's the deal, right? Like, kind of as an instructor, you cheat a little bit sometimes. So like, dude, I would train for that breath hold. I'd be really well trained for it, you know? And I would have all my stuff down. Also, like, I don't have to take a test. I'm not nervous. I don't have any anxiety. So I'm just mellow as can be. Full, you know, full breath of lungs. So I would go down there, full breath of air, and I'd be like, all right, man, like, tie a knot. And like, listen, like, it's been a long time since I've tied knots. So they would tie like a square knot, which I know. I think everybody knows a square knot, right? And I'd be like, all right, no, whatever, that's good. And I'd be like, all right, go to the surface. Then go to the surface. And they'd be up there breathing. And I would look down at them, and I'd be like, dude, like, get back down here. And they'd be like, you're not coming up? I'm like, hurry up, dude. And they would be like, oh, my God. And they would like freak out. Like, I got to hurry up and do this knot because this dude's got to be running out of air. Like, he didn't even come up. So they'd come down there and they'd tie like a bowline, which I've long forgotten how to tie a bowline, right? You know, I'm like, I'd look at it like, well, I guess that looks correct. Like, I really don't care, you know, like, all right. Like, is it good? They'd be like, I don't know. Like, you tell me. I'd be like, well, you tell me. Like, is it good? Or like, what? They'd be like, yeah, is it good? Can I go to the surface? And like, this time they're like, I'm like, dude, stop freaking out. Like, I haven't even gotten air. Like, I don't even know why you're, like, dude, chill out. And they'd be like, I'm like, all right, go to the surface. They'd go to the surface, right? And I would go up there. And like, at this point, like, I can feel the lack of oxygen, like, in my like back glutes, right? Like, I'm about to like pass out at this point, right? But like, don't ever let them see you sweat, you know? So I'd get up there, I'd be like, I'd take like a breath all calm. And I'd talk like super, super mellow. Not because I'm super, super mellow, but because I'm about to pass out, you know? And I'd be like, hey, man, like, why are we freaking out so bad? Like, it's a simple knot. Like, yeah, I think we're probably going to ask you to do a lot more advanced things in the future. And they'd be like, like, did you need to come up and then the air and this bounces. I'd be like, yeah, man, you got all the words exiting your head right now. Why don't you just go away? They'd be like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, he passed barely, whatever. And so like the next dude would be like, ugh. We would have like 4 instructors, and like each instructor has like, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 guys in like their line waiting to take the test. And so like, you know, magically, like, cause I would do all these breath holding things cause I surf and, you know, I did a lot of diving at CV. Like my line would have like 2 or 3 dudes in it. And like, there'd be like 6, 7 in the other lines. And so like one of my buddies, you know, who's also an instructor, would be like, hey, it's fill in Instructor Lyman's line.
They didn't want your line.
They don't want my line, you know? But so we did kind of use it as like a way to get back to the students we didn't like who were underperforming. They'd be like, hey, you I hate you. Go get an instructor lineman's line. Like, didn't you feel that swim the other day? Like, no. Words, go get an instructor lineman's line. So like, it was like this perfect storm of like, I'd make them hold their breath forever. And also I would take like the worst students. So they would be like, oh my God. Yeah. Buds is
all right. When you say worst students, is the gap that big, that noticeable, or is it pretty close?
So it's crazy, right? Like, yeah, sometimes the gap is big.
Okay.
And sometimes the gap is small. But I'll be honest, sometimes like this guy's like, man, this guy performs beautifully. Like he's a good runner. He's, good swimmer, right? Like physically fit, but he's just got a horrible attitude or he's a little bit shady. It's like anybody can be in good shape. Anybody can go to the good gym, go to the gym and work out really well. It's, kind of like a road trip. Like, would I want to take a long road trip with this guy? No. I don't want him in training. I don't want him in the SEAL teams.
So you want to break those guys?
I don't want to break those guys. I just want to let them know, like, hey, dude, no one likes you. I don't like you. Your fellows don't like you. And, like, some guys would catch it, and they'd be like, you know what? Like, yeah. Like, I was a good high school athlete. Like, I am, like, kind of smart. Like, I am breezing through training. But you know what? Like, what's life worth living if I don't have any friends? And those dudes would adjust, and then, like, yeah, they'd be good. But sometimes those guys wouldn't. And, like, the hate of the students and the instructors, and, like, that point for those examples, it's the hate from the students that gets them. Hell Week, right? Like, I posted something online a couple days ago. It's like, hey, I don't know which is worse, Hell Week or second phase, right? And like, I don't know what the answer is, right? Like, second phase is pretty bad, but Hell Week is bad. Hell Week gets the press.
Well, it's called Hell Week. Yeah. It's good branding.
Yeah, no, yeah. Hey, listen, SEALs, never afraid of marketing. Yeah, so the logs come back in Hell Week. That's never a good time. Yep. So, I forget this. You got the whistles, right? If I'm blowing the whistle twice, you make your way towards me. Or once, I don't know what it is, yeah. Yeah, he's got, that's like 2 or 3 days in. Yeah, so, you hallucinate in Hell Week.
Yeah.
Right? You get really tired. That's so solid day in the mud.
What? There's a lot of stuff that would get me. A lot. All of it would get me. But Hotel Del Coronado's just right there. There's people on vacation just down the street. That would mess with me so hard.
The juxtapose of like what you're doing, but where you're doing it at is totally insane. Right? And like you see that in the students, right? That quit. Because like I always loved it, like when students would quit, helmet by the bell. That's why I always say that. Those are the quitters, right? Because you quit in the morning. It's like, dude, it is 5 a.m. I got 4 hours of sleep. I am currently wet. I now have to do this like run. And then we might have to go hit the surf again and get hammered. And then people are just like, I don't want to, dude. I don't want to do this. And so they quit, right? Because they're cold. And now like the pain stops. They go get warm. They go get breakfast. They go put on their uniform. The sun hits their face. The fog lifts. So like San Diego in like the fall or like the spring, dude, it is a completely different world between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Right? Like just bright shining. And like they quit 3 hours earlier. But now they got a full belly and they're warm. They got a fresh shave. And they make their way back to the office to like fill out their paperwork after they quit. And you can just tell their look on their face like, dude, if I just would have hung on.
Yeah.
Like another hour or two, And so, and that's it, And there's a great life lesson there. Like, hey, man, do I need this much? No, dude, you need this much, And so, yeah, it's pretty telling. Diving, right? What's the best diving? Post diving. When you're done.
One thing the military is keeping in style are those short shorts. What's up with that?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
They love those short shorts. They're going to bring them back.
So here's the deal on those shorts, right? So team guys are fairly functional. Like this works, good enough, right? Some team guys advance. Team guys like progress. They do a lot of stuff. But sometimes just for like stuff, they're like, whatever. Full brutish caveman. Those, right? And so I don't know if this is true, but there's a rumor that the SEAL team set up in Norfolk, Virginia, because they were on a train to Fort Pierce, Florida. And the train broke down in Norfolk, and they're like, oh, whatever. Let's just set up shop here. And then, like, that became the deal. And, like, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but there is truth to, like, a lot of decisions being made like that. You know, like, well, what's special about the SEALs is because they do this and that. It's because they react on the fly. You know, and so, like, the UDT shorts are a little bit of a representation of that. It's like, dude, these shorts are horrible. They don't stretch. They're not adjustable. They're not efficient. They're ugly. They're not Speedos, but they're almost Speedos. Like, because Speedos are kind of like, I don't think you really want to be wearing Speedos all day long, but at least they're like, dude, they're efficient. They're comfortable. They're, you know what I mean? Like, dude, you don't have a lot of drag. There's a reason they wear them in the Olympics. But like UDT shorts aren't that, right? It's like, well, why do you guys even still have, I think we're the only people on the planet that use them. It's like, well, why do you have them? Because we had them like in World War II, and then like, I don't know. And like, that's it. Like, that's the end of the explanation, right? And so like, there you go.
That short company is in business because of the Navy. It's some admiral's cousin.
Dude, there's like some 82-year-old woman sewing horribly those shorts together and selling them. And like, yeah, it's 100% that. So there used to be a uniform in the SEAL teams when I first came in the teams. It was UDT shorts and a camouflage top. So a camouflage blouse is what you call them. And so if you were like kind of below 5'10", like the blouse was about the same distance as like where the shorts ended. So it looks like you were just walking around like
with no shorts,
with like naked, with just a camouflage top, but boots. And dude, like you just couldn't wrap your head around it. And like one of the very first ever like images as I was training, I mean, I was on the base for like 2 days, right? Images of a Navy SEAL was this, I remember him clear as day. He had a colossal mop of blonde hair and just huge forearms. And he was riding like the most grandmother cruiser bicycle ever with a basket. And the complete like makeup and look of him was mean. Like, dude, I'm going to grab your neck and smash your jaw. In complete opposite of like what he was wearing. The dude looked like he was going to like go strip at a club at a male review, but he looked so mean. And I was just like, dude, like this is kind of awesome, like this whole deal being here. But yeah.
It was Thunder from Down Under.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Santa Clemente Island. There's one tree on the island. One tree on that island.
You guys train there.
Yeah. That's the compound. There's actually there's a couple good surf spots there.
Do you have free reign when you're there? Like, do you have liberty and can you go around?
Not as a student. We do a lot of like advanced training there, you know, because it's really away from like eyes. And there's a pretty good shooting range there. That's it right there. But there's not a lot to do there. There is a bar there on the island, which a lot of people don't know.
But if you want to go surfing, like on the opposite side of the island.
You know, here's the crazy. I did go surfing there. You know, these guys pulled up, and they're all pros from like LA, and nice guys, like good dudes. And like they shut down the ranges because it was foggy. We were doing a long distance range. We couldn't shoot. I got on the Marband radio. It was like, hey, you know, boat in the water. Like, hey, you need to refrain from that area. We've got a range going on. Please proceed to shore. We don't talk to personnel. I could see them like in the boat, like, what's going on? I don't understand. And so like one of the guys kind of comes close to shore, and I run out there in my wetsuit, and I like jump off the rocks and like swim towards him. And they're like, hey, dude, we got a call on the radio. I'm like, yeah, man, that was me. And they're like, well, like we're told to like stop doing stuff. I'm like, yeah, no, I just made all that up so you guys would come over here so I could like see if I could borrow one of your boards and go surfing. And they're like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. And they're like, dude, we heard there's like seals on the island. I'm like, yeah, I'm one of them. They're like, dude, no way. Like, we all thought it was like rumors. I'm like, no, it's not a rumor, man. Like, here's the whole deal. And they're like, dude, do you know how to surf? I was like, yeah, dude, shut your mouth and like tow me in. And they're like, okay. Like it was a great meeting, man. And they ended up giving me one of the surfboards.
Nice.
They were super cool, man. And they ended up sending me a video later on. They had a videographer out there. So it was super cool.
Nice.
Like, hey, dude, can we get on the island and go to the bar? And I was like, dude, I'll try to get you on. But it ended up being kind of like a whole issue, and I couldn't get him on. But yeah, it was super cool.
Nice. Is this still training, or is this still part of Buds?
Yeah, this is part of Buds, you know, and like, yeah, this is a while ago. You know, obviously we're doing this with body armor and
It would be all like today. It'd be all desert camos, right?
like desert, you know,
Yeah.
or whatever, like cry camos, which is kind of almost like stretchy surf trunk material. Yeah, you know, the basics are still there, right? And like, hey, you know, like learning assaults is what you get on video. The big thing is like, it sounds kind of weird to say it, but like, hey, dude, I need you 8 guys to like do these things together, like in unison for hours on end. So it's like, as I'm 50 and I'm older and I kind of look through the lens of time, it's like, oh, that's a haversack, by the way. It's like, hey, you know, like, what have you learned? It's like, I learned to walk together with these guys, right? So they're blowing demo in the water right now, and that's like the origins of like what we're doing, and that's where like, you know, we're talking about wave energy conversion, right? Like, hey, Bill, how do you know about wave so much and the topography, hydrography? Is because we used to draw maps of like the peaks and valleys of like off the beach, right? In order to blow demo correctly, and then find like the obstacles that they place in the surf zone so that they can't bring boats onto the beach. Right. And so he's talking about how he has made like the demolition. So that's where the knot tying comes in, because you tie knots to tie the demolitions. And that's called a Jap scully. I didn't name it. That's what it's called. But it's a cement barrier to pierce the bottom of boats. And so you blow all those. They just disintegrate in the surf zone.
Oh, America.
America. We blow stuff up. Did you like that stuff? All right, man. Well, you can't get it because we blowed it up.
Graduation day. Oh, the family gets there. This is Coronado.
Yes, we don't do it like that. Oh, look at that mustache.
Mustache.
Once again, that's where freedom comes from. Yeah, I guarantee you, every one of these guys is pretty hungover right now. Yeah, that's good video.
Follow us. More interesting things to come.